if things are mysterious or it's not really making sense to you, it's like, what is this information? Like, where does this fit? This clearly plays some sort of a role, but this isn't fitting into my information that I'm gathering. Like the intuitive information, she's casting out her nets, trying to get in a good haul of intuition. She's like, I keep getting all this nice crab, but there's this other weird shit in there. But it's weird because I'm going to catch crab, but I keep finding this other stuff. It's not crab, but it's in the ocean. It counts as seafood, but I don't know what it is. Like what is finding a place for it. You're like, oh, that's what it is. Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. And what is NI more like though?
Well, no, I'm saying either way it would work. It's like for me, I'd be gather, and perhaps the metaphor that I just used or the picture I just drew was more indicative of NI anyway, that casting out of a net. But I think it works either way. Like she's trying to get any information. Mm-hmm. Or some sort of a preference or a drive towards gathering that sort of information, but she's also picking up other information.
It's like picking up units of information in the unit of measurement of another cognitive function type, because we were kind of using that metaphor earlier. Uh-huh. It's like already been refined. You're like, oh, this is like picking up coal, and you're like, well, this is like a Ruby thing. Like it's kind of already done. What do I do with that? Like a different, and this relates back to something.
Realizing that
and I think it maybe when we were interrupted, but we were talking about the usefulness of we were talking about the effect of having people kind of the two different approaches to the same thing to kind of help refine the other one. Yeah. And I got this idea in my head of kind of this back and forth refinement process because we were talking and I think and anyway that came into my head is it's like we take a thing and like you do some NI and SE stuff on it, and then you like say it to me, and I take it and I work some of my version on it and say it back to you, and then after a couple of tosses back and forth, it was better because it got a more skilled kind of refinement from 4 different functions or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like using them all in harmony.
And I think that's one of the more unfortunate but also fortunate aspects, depending on whether or not it gets met, is that there's always the need there for understanding to be improved, but not necessarily the drive in one given person. Mm-hmm. So you have somebody who values any or something like that, and they may not have the drive to develop their understanding of these other functions, but the need is still there. So they detect, okay, something's off, but their brain's not putting the pieces together that, oh, you need to do this, or you need to get this information. So that when you find it, you're like, oh.
And that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Which is kind of how I feel with the with some of the NE stuff. Yeah. I like being an irrational. I don't always like it, but I don't know. It's pretty fucking cool when it works. When it works, then you're like, hey, it's all worth it. It's just that it's that unfortunate. I think I don't know how it is for any prefers, but I don't know. I kind of feel like it's like it's like the seemingly aimlessness that it can have is a bit discouraging until you land on something. Then it's like it seems worth it.
Oh yeah, no, I have some friends that are they use a lot of NI, and I never understood it though. Like I don't know. Until MBTI, like I never really considered how different it could be in that sense. Like it was something I had a hard time, I don't know, paying attention to, in a way.
Yeah.
Like thinking about how I thought, and how I don't know. It's like avoiding FI shit, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah. I was gonna shift the conversation towards the polar, but I didn't want to prematurely shift it in that
that's okay.
direction. But since things are moving in that direction now,
Yeah.
like with the polar stuff, I'm not too certain because it's like I see TE and I'm like, oh, knowing facts, yeah, that's fucking valuable. Knowing facts, but being able to execute plans, like that shit is valuable. But at the same time, I don't necessarily see where I'm endeavoring to really get hardcore facts in situations, or really like when like I don't know. It's just like with the polar stuff, I'm trying to relate this more to polar, not just zeroing in on mine in particular. But it's like with the polar stuff, I'm trying to understand that a bit more because I've said different things about it and I've given different people ideas about what it could be, but I don't think I've done it justice, and that kind of bothers me because I don't want to, tell people shit that's wrong.
Nah, I feel you.
Yeah.
I just always have a hard time. I just like, I'm not the best at asking questions, and that's usually what I like to do.
Yeah.
But for the polar, I don't know. I think from what I've noticed too, everybody's an individual, so I feel that some people have a harder time, delving into their polar function as functions as as other people. I don't know. It was hard for me for FI for a while, But I think somebody, I don't know, T, depending on how you were raised and stuff, it would be more easy to like consider, I guess. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get as talky, but I don't feel as knowledgeable, So I'm still figuring it out.
So I'm still trying to understand FI better in some ways, or really just like the feelings, because it's like I think there's more going on there. It's like sometimes I think in particular, like when I hear Eric talk about feelings, I don't know how to pin them on shit necessarily, but at the same time, I think this is particularly what's annoying is that I want to be able to pin things, be like, oh no, this is wrong. But more often than not, it's just a sense that when somebody says something, I'm like, that's not right. But I don't know, like, and it's not necessarily like feelings like, oh, that's not right. You're being mean. It's not like that. It's like, no, there's some sort of inconsistency that it just like it hit my web and there was a reverberation. And I'm like
an I think.
Like the alarm goes off, but I'm not sure what it's indicating towards. But it's like sometimes when he talks about feelings, like it seems rather limiting.
Mm-hmm.
And like I get the sense that that's due to its positioning, that when it comes to feelings anyway, having one being polar and then the other, being tertiary, which is like, oh, you have this sense that you probably think you're better at it than you are, and you use it fairly inconsistently. So it's like, I don't know, like when he talks about some feeling related stuff, I feel like I get sort of bothered with myself in a way, because I feel like I should be able to go to bat for the feeling side of things more often and be able to present it in a way that it doesn't seem heavily skewed that one is better than the other.
Yeah. No, I think ENTPs just have a hard time explaining feelings.
Uh-huh.
They probably do. I always have. So
I was thinking of it this way. I was just coming up with like an image in my head. Is like, so FI is this island. Like imagine something, and FI is this little island over there. And the first thing you do as an ENTP is eventually you discover that this island exists.
And then you bomb the shit out of it.
exactly.
It's this unplotted island over there. That's interesting. I didn't know it was there. But most of the time, once you know it exists, which is important, but then you just basically spend most of your time with a telescope, like looking to see what's happening on that island. And then you make some sort of decisions off what it appears to be happening over there. And then every now and then, you black out and you wake up on this freaking island, and you're like, what the heck?
Why am I here?
But most of the time, you're just like peering at the island like through a telescope and kind of like, well, they're doing some stuff over there. I guess I'll account that into my plans.
You look at it.
And I think a lot of times you heavily rationalize. I'm talking about FI Polar. Heavily rationalize. Follow me here. Heavily rationalize an irrational fear that the island is full of lepers.
I can see that.
So you're like, this island is undoubtedly full of lepers. And people are like, I don't think we've ever seen any lepers on there. And you start giving this very detailed, very, very well thought out construction of why lepers should exist. And people keep looking over with the telescopes and they're like, I got to be honest, I think you're full of shit.
No, I totally get that.
It's a confirmation bias towards lepers existing on the island.
No, they're definitely there, though. That's the thing.
That's exactly what an FI Polar would say. It's kind of like when a schizoid patient is like, I'm not schizophrenic.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not crazy. I don't come up with shit. And it's like, listen, Buster.
Hold up.
So, yeah.
Hey, no, I was just playing along.
You're like,
hold on, Buster.
yeah. But no, I kind of feel like there's positives and negatives that you can get from that. I think like the positive for ENTPs and probably ESTPs is that they're more willing to be like, okay, listen, there's something that needs to be solved. There's something that needs to be done. It's like there's more of like one of the more positive things is like an ignoring of, oh, this might ruffle feathers.
Yeah,
well, it's there's an issue. Like there's more of an issue here.
Yeah, it's an FE priority. It's like you can't just individualize everybody for this issue because this is the whole issue. You know what I mean? It's for everybody sort of idea.
But I think the FE desire to sort of have harmony around you still provides some sort of a pull, or maybe not harmony, but just good feelings around you. Provides some sort of a pull that we're like, yeah, I mean, I know can be abrasive, but I want people to like me. So even by reaching out, I think a lot of times people are like, oh, they're trying.
I feel like maybe even FE might have a tendency, especially in the third slot, to like generalize everybody's feelings. Like, no, I get that you're individual, but like, like this is for, like be more like this a little bit, get it, like understand that it doesn't matter as much, Yeah,
so, I think with like ENTPs, it's like, hanging out with like Taylor or Eric, it's like the degree to which they describe like what it seems to be like standards and like how they operate with other people and like what they're willing to shut down on. Like if somebody's acting a particular way or they do something, it's like, no, bar none, that is not tolerated, that sort of behavior. I think a lot of times if people applied that behavior only emotionally to ENTPs, nobody would be an ENTP's friend.
Yeah. They
would just push them out because they're like, no, you're violating this particular... Because to be honest, you fuckers are emotional terrorists, basically. Less so with Audra.
I'm not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you get there's some sort of mixture that
it's whenever you hit that thing that violates rules. It's like FI is okay until it totally breaks FE, and then FE is like puts FI in its place.
I think Eric and then Taylor to a lesser extent have a much more readily pushed
standard. Part of their 8-ishness.
Well, I mean, Eric's a 7, but
oh yeah, he's a 7.
Eric's a 7.
Audra's
an 8.
Tamer 8.
Yeah, I don't know if Audra's tamer. Tamer implies.
No, I just mean. I don't know. Not like
I don't know if docile. I don't know if docile is a.
No, I wouldn't say tamer, but I meant it in a more general sense towards that.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, not so confronting in that manner.
See, that was me trying to apply consistency, And it worked out okay, but you were like, yeah. No. See, I almost felt bad in that situation because you were like, no, I was trying to. You were driving towards the gist,